All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Lunch and Learn. I am Jeremy, and I will be leading our call today. Happy to help answering any questions that we may have um, with whatever we've got going on. So if you have any questions, please feel free to post them in the chat uh, or in the Q&A, and I'll be happy to get to them and do my best to answer. At least try my best if it's something I'm familiar with. So please put your questions in the chat, and I'll give everyone a minute to do that if they haven't yet, and we'll start in just a moment. All right. All right, we do have a couple questions, and I will apologize ahead of time if I occasionally mute. I have a little bit of a cold and a cough, so I will try my best to mute if I have to cough or anything, to not blow anyone's ears out. But we do have a couple questions, so we will get to that, and I can start answering or trying my best to answer some of our questions. Um, just real quick point out, we do have, and I believe our QR codes were fixed because they weren't working before. But we do have our decision support YouTube channel. It's where we post all of our lunch and learns as well as additional training content. So please feel free to check that out if you're looking for a little bit more, or if you want to check out some of our previous or past lunch and learn content. And we do have the Decision Solutions Marketplace. So from there, you can go ahead and, find access to various applications and other things that have been built or pre-built to use in decisions. In the past lunch and learns, we kind of go a little bit further into those. We can go there if we need to, but we kind of do that every day. So I think I will just go ahead and start taking a look at some of the questions that we've been asked. So the first question we have is, can you walk me through how to create right-click user actions on an advanced data grid on a form? All right, so we're going to start with that question from Elon. I know there's not much else to it, but I will unmute you in case you need to add or um, put anything while we're working here. About the image, just gotta create a quick project real quick because I am on version 9. All right. All right. Um, Elon, just to further kind of push this, do you have any specifics that you're trying to like look at within the advanced data grid, data types or anything that you're specifically looking for that I can kind of incorporate a little bit of?
Yeah. Uh, Give me one sec.
Hmm.
So we're actually using an external entity, but for the specific one the data structure that I'm trying to use for that advanced data grid, it is a simple data structure that we created.
Okay.
And just to give some more background context, I know that you can use like the create data types integration and then the configuration extension to then add um, like user actions underneath a data structure or entity. And that's what I was trying to do. And I created two flows. But now I'm just not sure how to incorporate that as a right-click action into the advanced data grid. And
Okay.
so that's what I was kind of wanting to find out.
Mm.
I also did see like an older Lunch and Learn video where whenever they changed the grid mode to single select, there was like a little pop-up like check mark box that said show actions, and that's what worked for them to be able to show those right-click actions.
Hmm.
But like that wasn't showing up for me. I don't know if that was like an older version that had that.
Do you remember where that was? I'm
Yeah,
not
like
as familiar with data grids or
see where it
advanced data
says
grids.
grid mode and then info only. I think you just passed it a little higher. Yeah,
Oh,
it was
oh, right there. Got
right
it.
there. And then they changed to single select. And then they had like where I think it was around where it says select default. They also had another check mark box that said show actions. But that's not, I don't know if that's like an older version. That's why it's like an older video. But that I guess I just wasn't sure how to get the right clicks to actually show up.
Got it. Hmm. I think I'm not noticing anything that sticks out as needing anything specific to allow it to have actions.
Could you
I know,
open up that report one more time real quick?
yeah, sure.
In the actions, that little in the configuration actions, it says show actions on right click, right? And then I would
Hmm.
like usually for user actions, you would then create a user action and then um, would it not be able if we're doing it for the same data source, would it not be able to create those user actions then, or is it a little different for advanced data grids? I guess that's what I'm not sure about as well, because I think in the documentation it says advanced data grids can have user actions.
No, they definitely can. You should have no problem creating custom actions on them. That's what I was trying to confirm and see if it looked like there was something different because I haven't specifically worked with adding actions on or like looking at actions in advanced data grids. You
Elon,
definitely
are you trying to
can.
change the action context, or are you trying to just use the ones
She's
that are
like
tied to?
she's trying to have custom actions on your advanced data grids.
Yeah, like on the values of it, like when you display three values. Is that what you're trying to do, Elon?
I'm
So
sorry.
like so data grid advanced, we pass in like three records inside of this, and then you can right click those actions inside, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So attach this. So Jeremy, create a flow. Create some
Yep.
database records of that database, and then just fetch it into it. Because if we can get it, then maybe there's something else going on in your system. Maybe there's a rule, not a rule, or what's the term? Action visibility rule that's
Visibility.
like, yeah, that's blocking it. Um, but we can test that out right quickly.
Okay.
Create Don't do this to me now. Decisions. I can't right click any of these.
Is go back to the advanced data grid. Can you change the grid mode? To inline, is it inline? Try inline edit. And then you should get a new one and then save. I'm wondering if it's a setting that just needs to be changed on it.
It gives me the option to delete it, and that's it.
Are you in version 9 or version 8, Elon?
I'm in version 9. Oh, sorry.
I know you're.
Yeah, I didn't know it. You're asking.
You're fine.
I believe I'm in version 8. Let me double check real quick.
Okay, because I was gonna say let's test this in version 8 real quick. If you have version 8.
I don't have a readily available version 8 right now.
I can do it real quick. You
My
want me to share?
local. Yeah.
Come on, Zoom.
Yeah, I'm in version 8.
Okay, cool. Let's go ahead and let's try that in version 8. We'll go here. Let's see. Nope, not that one. Let's create another form. And are you using a custom type or a decisions like native type?
I'm
Like,
sorry, I'm not too familiar. What does that mean?
so did you create this data type or?
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay, gotcha. Perfect. All right, so then let me do that. I'm gonna make sure that I user defined type. Do you know what type of data structure you created?
A simple data structure.
A simple database structure. Okay, cool. Because I'm gonna create some. Okay, combined. This is a database structure. Let me make sure I enable the actions on it. For here, some data structures won't come with the default, and actions defaulted. So if you're using a simple database structure, you'll have to right click, edit define data structure, and then just click enable actions. That will give it its own kind of configuration folder where you can then create your own user actions. So let me just create a user action. I'll say that this is me. And we can imagine it does something intelligent. All right, I'm just going to connect it to the start and end step right here. Boom. All right, cool. Now I'm going to go back. And let's go back to advanced test data grid. I got to add the data grid. I think this is for combined, right? And I believe if I do this, input data is input data. I know, very creative. We're going to add the name. I think I have stuff that I've created for it. Maybe not. So I'm just gonna save, we'll add a button because you gotta add a button. Close this, test steps. I'm gonna remove all this because we don't need this. This is for another question we had the other day. I'm gonna delete this input because I don't need it, don't save it, don't want it. Show. And then pick existing advanced data grid test. I'm going to fetch entities. And so the presumption I'm going to have here is that this one's not actually going to work. It's actually not going to show my values here. So if I go this, attach this here, we'll say this is the combined because that's what I called it. If I can spell combined, that's my problem. Combined, boom. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to grab the select from flow. I do this, debug, and boom. Okay, cool. So I got data here. There is no user actions, which is expected because I left the grid mode on the advanced data grid to info only. So, and then I can check this thing saying show actions. So I wonder if I do this, I say show actions, if this will help. And if I do that, let's debug one more time. And I should see the action. This is me. There you go.
Okay, see, I think I know where it's going wrong. In the simple data structure, when you did the enable actions, where,
Mhm.
can you show me that one more time? I didn't see that
Of
checkbox.
course. I can show you that. Yep, on certain data structures. This will apply for the database structure specifically. If you do a simple data structure, I know it's fine. You can edit your simple data structure, which is just another, not the best name that we have for it for a database structure. When you right click it, you can go to edit define data structure. And then all the way on the properties to the right, you'll see enable actions. You can leave the category name and the subcategory blank. It just means that it will create another category of actions where it will group your actions. You don't really need that. You can leave it blank. Once you check this box and enable it, and then click save, then you'll have the configuration folder where you can design your own user actions. And then if you check the box show actions on the advanced data grid, then it will appear.
Got you. Okay, and by any chance, for
Mhm.
those actions, because I'm not seeing it on my end, do you have to have like certain access to have that? Like, can that be
Uh,
hidden for users?
so if you go to the combine, so once you do that, you'll have a configuration folder.
Mhm.
Let me go inside of it. Come on. I gotta install on a different database because I think mine's probably really full. That's why it takes a while. Notice that I don't have Notice that I just have one action, but if I deleted this one and I had 0 actions, then I would not have any actions show up on the actual data structure. So since you had to click the check on it, I'm presuming you don't have any user actions configured. And so you'd have to configure your own user actions here in the configuration folder before you'll see any when you right click.
Got you. And another way to be able to get this view right here with the user actions for that entity, could you um, in the configurations folder go to the data types, I think it is, and
The,
then click on create data type integration. Is that like the same thing or is that different? And then configuration extension right there. Oh, you were right there. Sorry.
yeah.
And
So this is used if you have certain decisions native types that you want to add your own actions to. So we have a great project in our training called the document routing. And what that does is you create your own configuration folder for an existing decisions data type. So that's why I asked you the question earlier, is this a decisions or did you create this?
got you.
Because
Okay.
if it was a decisions, then we do this way. If it's yours that you created, then it's just a kind of a simple flip of the switch, and then you know you have your enable actions.
Cool. Okay, I think that's exactly what was going wrong. So thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure.
All right. The next question we have in our Q&A, I need help setting up the repository server for our staging environment. I have followed instructions on documentation, but I'm getting an auth error. Um, Initially, my first thought here is this is something that's probably best suited for the support team. Um, or yeah, because most likely this is going to require like looking on your end to find where there's something missing. Um, like I can show like the basics of setting up a um like making sure that your repository is connected, but not necessarily looking at what the authentication errors are. And the support team will be able to take a look at what the authentication error is, look at logs and things like that, um, to be able to kind of help you in that get you in the right direction more for what you need.
Could you
Um,
share the repository stuff? Maybe that might be helpful.
yeah,
Because I think there is a property to configure the OAuth, and that's as much as we know. I think Jeremy said it really well. A lot of it would be support team's help on it.
there we go. Center repository. No, right.
It's in settings.
Yeah, thank you. I just had a,
I have already done that. I may have a very basic question. Probably that is something that you should be able to help me out with. Is like I have staging server and I have repository server, and I have created a project, or it's project, right? So I have created a project in my staging server. How can I push that code into repository server? I mean, it's like, do I have to like create a project, connect both of them? Like, I understand the Git flow. I'm not quite sure how I can do that in decisions. That's something that's so fundamental, but I didn't quite grasp that from the documentation.
Got it. We can show you that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so once you have your repository actions connected, right? You've set up your designer repository settings, you make sure you have show repository actions set. When you have your projects, you should have these designer repository options available here. And to simply, you're in your development server, right? You do your development, you build your project. When you're right-clicking on a project and you go to these actions, check in is how you're going to take any changes and things connected. I'm not connected to this right now, but check in is just going to bring up a menu then that lets you choose which items you want to check in. Can you set specific items to if you want to not check in certain items, you'll have a list of all your items that you have available to check in that are all the things within this project. And so with everything that's in this project at the moment, you can go ahead and like choose which ones you want to check in to send into the repository server. And then as long as, you don't have any of those authentication issues kind of, ironed out and everything, it'll just send all of those values as one big project with all the items that you chose into the repository. And so then if you go and look in your repository, you should see those items checked in there. And then the opposite is checkout. If you want to take something that's already in the repo and place it into your server, then you would do checkout, and then checkout will allow you to choose the project and everything, and then import all of the items from that project into your current server.
Is that how I would do that on my production server? Like, I would connect the repository server and then check out my project so that I can deploy on my production server. Okay. Just an same topic, but a little bit of different question. So how can I, like, when I check out the entire code base, I would imagine, will be ported into the production server. So how can I maintain the secrets, the variables like my client ID and secret to connect to my authentication server, or things that the values that are going to be different from my staging to production? How can I maintain that? Imagine in a regular development world, I would create a variable group and replace them during the deployment, and that's how it would do it. But is there anything like that available on decisions?
So in that regard, we don't carry over. So you can carry over the groups; they'll get carried over, but the individual accounts, I believe, don't. For that reason, because then you can kind of log in as another person in another
environment. I'm not worried more so about the logins. I'm worried about, for example, in your training repository example, I am connected to a database of mine, right? So which requires connection string.
Yes.
On the production server, I need to connect to production database, of course. So I need to change the connection strings. So how can I, do I have to, when I check out the code, do I have to go in and change all of them manually?
Oh, so it depends. So I think I get your question. It depends. So so I'm going to answer a question that you didn't ask, but it's kind of conjuncturally related. That question is certain other external systems that you're connecting to on your prod server and your dev server, you have to make sure that the prod server already has connection to those databases. That kind of connection doesn't get carried over. To answer your question specifically, if you reference variables from the local connection, right? There is, Jeremy, if you can go just open a flow for me.
Sure.
And so we can show this, is every flow, every rule has a, can actually see its local connection of what the database it's connected to. So go ahead to Data Explorer and show the flow data really quick, expand flow data. And I think there should be, is it not here? There should be something for like connection. I thought this could be an easy way to show it. Anyway, there is a there used to be a variable here that as a system constant called your local connection, and it's probably still manifested in version 9, just not in the flow designer. But if you reference any variables from, excuse me, that local connection, and in that local connection, like you access certain databases, and if you carry that over to the new production server, then it will still run those local connection queries or connections that you have, because it just references that variable. It doesn't reference the actual it just has a variable and it grabs the data string from your settings XML file of the decision server. And so when you go into the prod server one, it does the same thing. So you don't need to edit any of that stuff in your project unless you've done constants in your project and hard coded things. That's the only time when you'd have to. But if you reference variables, you should be fine.
So when you say reference variables, do I have to create that XML somewhere and then add these values and then use wherever that I need to use? Like, for example, starting with the connection strings to my databases to even REST integrations, like REST services, the URLs are going to be different for, of course, the base URLs are going to be different from stage to production. So do I, just like app settings.json when it comes to .NET projects, do I have to create something like that here and then use that? Is that what I do?
No, you won't have to do that. So the settings XML file is an XML file that already comes with an installation of decisions. When you install it, it references like the server, the connection string, and all that stuff. So you won't have to create that there.
Okay.
Jeremy, do you mind if I share my screen? Because I probably show this if I build
Yeah.
something real quick. Thanks. Yeah. So in this circumstance, when I'm saying reference variable, so in the area of integrations, right? If let's say you're in your dev server, you're integrating the Snowflake, right? And it has its own connection string and stuff like that. That's going to have to be pre-set up in your prod server. That stuff won't get carried over. I believe that's accurate. I may have to test that, but basically every external connection that you have on your dev server, you have to automatically make sure you've already created the exact same connection on your prod server, so you won't have difficulty migrating your project from dev to prod, utilizing the repository server. In regard to the system constants, though, and let's say you do have several different certain like references that you want to use throughout your project without having to hard code things. In decisions, I think it's in designers. I could be wrong.
But I want to interrupt a little bit. So I am using version 9. So most of my settings are at the project level. Not at the system. I think that was the recommendation that I read somewhere.
Sure, I can show it in version 9. It's going to be the same process. Or Jeremy, can you share your screen? That'll be faster. And it's the same process. It's just located somewhere different. In the in the menu here. So close out of this, Jeremy, and go to the expand manage. So in regard to the expand manage, manage all the way to the left. All the way to the left. Manage.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, expand manage, and then if you go all the way down in configuration, so this is where you'll find hey, there is some let's see, scroll down to designers, I want to say. I think that's where it's at. Let's see, it's somewhere here. Go to integrations. And click on go to variables, expand variables. There we go, constants. So you can set up your own system constants there for your own project. So it's the same thing that I was going to show in version 8. It's just located somewhere different. And this just does it for your project level. And then this will carry over those, project constants to the newer system as well. So this is
I
all.
can change them on my server manually, I would imagine.
Yeah, you can set them. And what happens here, go ahead and just create a random one, Jeremy. Call it flow constant name, I don't know. You can say test or whatever. It doesn't matter. Example, perfect. And give it a string value on the bottom. And so what we're demonstrating here is this is tying back to the question you asked earlier about like referencing more variables. If you know you're gonna have like constant, now go into a flow designer, Jeremy. If you know you're gonna have constant like, hey, we're always going to store files in this network share drive, and I don't want to have to type in the // whack whack and then that server. Now if you create this and then you select from flow, you're going to have a project constants that if you go through, now you have your example task, which could be your share drive, could be, you know, any other system that you know you're going to be utilizing a lot. You can just put that there, and then you won't have to worry about adding a constant in the input property to all the other parts of your project.
Got it. That makes sense. Can I use the same values while doing integrations? Like I have an external service integration which has the base URL. Can I use?
Absolutely. That is a use case that we do use that often. Like, hey, we know the base URL for our LMS is like Docebo API. We're just gonna add this as a suffix, and then now we can, depending on whatever we need to call, we'll just craft that URL there and then pass it through.
But I'm sorry for being specific because I've just opened that edit service. It's a plain text field. Like, how can I refer it?
Sorry?
I wish I could share my screen, but if you go to integrations on the left sidebar. Yeah, there are integrations and click on external service.
External services up at the top, Jeremy.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, just try add address service. Click on that. So I can add a name here, and service URL is where I want to use the constant that I have created. So how can I use it? I don't have any selector or anything like that.
So yeah, so this you still need to create this. What this does, this creates the folder and the author. This is a different thing. This is to create the authorization part to talk to that REST service. This will still have to be configured there. It's like if I already know, like obviously I'm going to create here my Docebo API, right? And let's say I add, the base URL. You're still going to have to add that here. But if I know the different methods that I'm going to call are going to be different, and I want to establish that on runtime, then I could use those system constants there. But this will still have to be created because this is the auth part for it. Whether you need a OAuth or, OpenID.
The service URL is the base URL that changes, right? Auth, I get it. Auth is comes later to me. I've added OAuth bearer and it's like service URL. So my dev URL, it has dev in it, and my prod will have like no dev in it, of course. That's what I want to variabilize it. Like I want to use variable for it, unless I want to go ahead and create the same service with prod connection on my prod server. Yeah, sure, I can do that.
Are you talking about you just want to add additional HTTP headers to it? Is that what you're asking?
No, service URL, right? This is the service URL. For dev, there will be one base URL, and for production, it will be something else.
So no, this isn't talking to decisions, right? This is us calling an external system.
Right.
So that URL will be whatever that third party is. So if it's QuickBooks' API, and that's the same API for your dev server and your prod server. And it's only if you're using decisions to be called as a REST API, like I want to call this flow as an API, then the base URL naturally for your dev server and your prod server will be different. So this is not related to that situation, if that's what you're asking about.
Okay. Something. Yeah, anyway, okay. It looks like I just have to create it manually on my production server, giving a prod URL.
Correct. Yeah, this part will have, if you're talking to an external system, that will have to be created.
Okay. So in an ideal world, I should not export this to my repository server. I would just go ahead and create them manually. Okay. That makes sense. It's kind of sad though. Okay. That's all I got. So for the auth errors, I may have, like, I've been in contact, like I have been sending back and forth between me and support team, I don't think they're getting what I'm trying to say. That's why I joined this call. Looks like it is
Sure.
not the support call. Like, is there any way that I can have a call with them? Like, do they have lunch and learns like this? Or I was
Yeah, well, for the support team, I would just send them an email. It sounds like you already have a ticket in with them. Just say, hey, I need a call. Can someone walk me through how to create this integration, or walk me through how to export this integration from this server to this server? And they're more than capable to help you with that, because it sounds like your issue is a little specific, and that would definitely help. So,
great, thank you.
my pleasure.
All right. And we have currently one more question. I don't know if this may be, I don't know if you know much about this, Jared. I know I will be grasping at straws a little bit because I'm not familiar. But Shan did ask, encountering a problem using the step insert or update the Oracle database table. When debugging, it's complaining that the data type is not converted to database table definition type. I can find the data type when searching on the portal, but can't find it using a create data step in version 9.
Can we allow them to talk? Give more.
Yep, I just did.
Cool.
So Shan, if you would like to further speak, go right ahead.
Yeah, hello, Jeremy. Yeah, I just have a very simple task, just to write the data into the database, in the Oracle database. So I can retrieve the data from the database using that collection. Now I want to write it back, but that state I found the table in the integration, and they have one step. It's called insert or updates the table name. But I don't know how to put it into how to provide the input for this step. So I manually created a data structure and fill up the value. But when I debug it, it said they need this. It is called kind of like a database table definition type. So I go back to the decision designer portal. I'm in the version 9, so it's also I only have one portal. I can search it. I can find that name. But if I go back to that step, I put into I put one more step. If my colleague said, "Oh yeah, in version 8 we put a step is called create data in front of write to the database." So I put that step called create data, and when I try to define the data, I try to search the data type. I can't find it.
Let's see, so can't find the data type. So I know that whenever we create a table definition, Jeremy, can you just create to answer this question, we'll just need to create a database integration. It's a database integration. So go to like the manage integrations database, create a connection, and just call it, whatever. Basically, all we're doing is just we're reconnecting back to your local database. So whatever your login is, you have to uncheck for Windows. You just put in all that stuff. Because I think the verbal answer to this, but I want to see if we can demonstrate this. Now it could be different. There could be something different with Oracle, and that one I'm not sure what the difference could be. But I do know if you do create you still have to put the server name and the database name. If you create an Oracle connections, there might be something that you just have to format the data with. Because if your error is error converting from one type to the other type, that just means that there has to be like a list mapping step or some step that can convert all of that data into something else, and then you can save it. And so I want to demonstrate that part out so you can see what that what that would look like, and then you can possibly try that. And I think that will solve your issue with us, even though we don't have an Oracle database for the time being. Could you go back to your MS SQL, Jeremy? Okay. Can you open up MS SQL while we wait for this to load? Got it. Okay, so okay, can you go back to it? So that would be I think that's localhost, Jeremy, server name.
Oh, it's just that.
Yeah, because if you go back to the MS SQL. See the name at the top right, local backslash. That's the
that.
stuff that's got to be put in. Yeah.
The whole thing.
Yeah. No, not the whole thing. That's just localhost of the server name. I think the database name is the J. Whatever the JD SQL server. That makes sense.
No, that's the database.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
That's the server name, right? I just
Exactly, yeah.
missed doing the local thing beforehand.
Yep. I gotcha. There we go. So now it's just the
There we go.
wrong
Now it's
SA
just my
password.
password.
Yeah. Cool. Now go to next. Now we can actually show the fun part. Go ahead and add right click on that connection, Jeremy. We're going to add a table. And go ahead and just pick a table. It doesn't matter which table. Sweet. Cool. Next. And cool. We got it. Hit next. And yep, you can say save. And then now let's go into the flow designer and we can talk about how we have to save information to it.
Okay, go back one more step back.
Sure.
Oh, I have. Okay, database. Okay, I have this. Okay, fine.
Okay, cool. Go back to the flow designer, Jeremy.
Mhm.
And just go to the integration step. You can't search for these. It's an integration and databases, I think. Boom. And then database tests. Yep. See it. So we have this in. Go ahead and grab insert. And so, right, so the objects over here, can you expand that window so we can see what that is?
Expand
Yeah.
what window? This.
That. So right, this is the table definition. And now, Jeremy, if you go ahead and go to create data, drag or create data over, and we're gonna find this data type. There we go. So database test weekly. So that gives us the type right there.
Okay.
Then, so it's probably could be, so and remember, it may be different. This is SQL where we're connected because we don't have an Oracle server that we could just directly connect to. But from a decision standpoint, which is the part that we can talk to, is it starts off, it names it after whatever your connection, your database connection is called, right? So it's database test underscore and then the database table you connect it to. In our case, it's the DBO weekly schedule.
Okay, I will try that.
So that will help you find it, and then close this, Jeremy. And then the next thing that you would have to do, Shan, is go ahead and grab over the list mapping step, Jeremy. The list mapping step is a powerful step because it allows you to take in one type, right? I can say, hey, this is an output type, the DBO, the database thing. There we go, DBO weekly schedule. And your inputs, and this list mapping step, there's no way to configure the inputs of it, but that's okay. Essentially, what that allows you to do is you can just pass in whatever data type. It will automatically change its data type to whatever you pass into it. And so what you can do here is go ahead and grab flow data, just a list of something, Jeremy. Make sure you grab a list object, so like the initiating user groups. Boom, perfect. And then now let's just imagine that this list of initiating user groups is something we need to convert into our weekly test, whatever, right? Then once you do this, the step's going to have the show item mapping editor. And then now that allows you to say, okay, if I have the input of string, so one string variable, and then build data on your item, and then you can map in whatever value that it corresponds with. In this case, we just passed in a list of strings, but if we passed in a list of accounts or a list of your other data type object, you can build data on it, and then you can map the corresponding properties to that specific process. Go ahead and grab the request headers data pair, Jeremy. That would be a good one. And then show item mapping editor. And so now what we can do is you can expand the properties of the data pair or the composite type, and then you have build data on the right, and you can correspond that value belongs to here. And then once you finish the mappings here and you click OK, once this step runs, it will automatically transfer that data from that type to the other type, and then you can run your storage process.
Okay, yeah, sounds good. Is the list mapping step is a lesson is it's have to be there, or I can't just create the data insert directly. I have to go to one more steps in between.
It just depends on where your data is coming from.
Okay.
If you already have your data, like this create data step is unnecessary because it is already the data type that I need to insert into my thing. So obviously, like a list of database, I have that option there as well if I need to take the one from create data. So it just depends on where you're getting it from. List mapping is if you're getting it from one thing and you need to convert it to that, then you can. If you already have it set up as the correct data structure that you need to insert, then you can just go directly into it.
Okay, thank you. And one more thing is actually I checked my under my project, the manager, then going to that integration database, there is no collection, but I can see I can retrieve data from the database. So is it possible? Is my permission issue? So for example, the administrator is already give me some of the permission, allow me to use some collection which they defined more high level, but they didn't give me the permission to use that kind of the database table definition.
That's definitely possible. Worth taking a look into, because that would explain why if you can't search for it or you're having trouble finding it to use it. If you're definitely in the same project, you're not in different projects, then that might explain why you are having trouble finding some of those pieces. So it's definitely worth checking into.
Okay, yeah, thank you very much. By the way, when can I see this playback of this record?
Probably about 2:30, 3 p.m. It'll be on YouTube.
Oh, okay. Okay, it's in the decision.com, that subscription.
It's on the decisions.
Decision
it's on
support.
support. Yeah, if you Google it, I can send it to you. I'll make sure as soon as I get it posted, I'll send it to you personally as well.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
There's the YouTube channel too, but yeah, it should be
Decision. Thank you.
Our pleasure.
All right. Well, we are just hitting 1 o'clock here, and it looks like we answered all the questions for the day as well anyway. So thank you, Jared, for all the help on a couple questions that I didn't know. That will conclude our Lunch and Learns for this week. So we will continue next week, Monday through Thursday, continuing with those Lunch and Learns. Make sure you check out our support channel. Make sure you check out the Solutions Marketplace. QR codes should be fixed now. So if you need anything, let us know. Thank you all for joining today, and hope you all have a wonderful day and weekend.